When it comes to following the will and the way of Yahweh, how serious are we, and how seriously do we take his commands? Hi, this is Barry Phillips, a 10-minute toward day 3 of Vayera, which means to see, or he appeared is the version of it. And we are now in Bereshit, or Genesis chapter 19. And it says, "And the two messengers came to Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. And when Lot saw them, he rose to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he said, 'Look, please, my masters, please turn into your servant's house. Spend the night, wash your feet, rise early, and go on your way.' And they said, 'No, let us just spend the night in the open square.' But he urged them strongly, and they turned into him and came to his house, and he made them a feast and baked unleavened bread, and they ate." We know this story of Sodom and Gomorrah. We know about the wickedness of this particular location. We know how that Yah destroyed this place with brimstone and fire. Traditionally, it is said, well, the people were homosexuals. The men of the city, they did indeed present themselves as such to Lot, and he knew it. I think they knew it before they ever moved into the city. But it says in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 16, it says, "This was the sin of your sister Sodom. She had plenty of bread and untroubled tranquility, yet she did not support the poor and the needy. In her haughtiness they sinned before me, so I removed them, as you saw." The reason that Yah poured out fire and brimstone on Sodom and Gomorrah wasn't just because of their perversions, but it was because they were haughty and they cared about showing, they showed no care for providing for those that were in need. It's understood they did not tolerate anyone coming in to their cities. Matter of fact, it says concerning Lot, they said in verse number 9, "This one came in to sojourn, and should he always judge?" It's interesting that when the two messengers show up, they encounter Lot sitting in the gate. That's in ancient culture. That's where a court was held, a place of jurisprudence. Cases were resolved there. It was he there as a judge. Had he sold out all of his possessions of flocks and herds and so forth, and bought himself a position of reputation in the city of Sodom? Was that why his wife's affections were more for the city than to escape its judgment? Position and prestige. So these two messengers show up. Lot has enough discernment about him that he recognizes these are not just travelers. These are special people. He calls them master. And he pleads with them, "Don't stay in the public square tonight. You must come into my house. Look, I'll feed you. Get up early in the morning and get out of here." He had no idea as to what's getting ready to happen. And so Lot, he's an interesting character. Later on, he's called a righteous man vexed by the sins of Sodom. Abraham has just prayed if there are 10 Siddiqs, 10 men of exalted levels of righteousness, 10 men of great walk of righteousness in these cities, will you save them? Yah said, for 10, I will. 10 righteous men can turn these cities around. One could not. And matter of fact, this one was overwhelmed by the sin that was around him. When the messengers show up with Abraham, he makes them unleavened bread. Ugot is used here. And then it says here that Lot, he made the men unleavened bread and made them a feast, and they ate. Unleavened bread, were they perhaps in the days of unleavened bread where they were celebrating Pesach in anticipation of the one who was yet to come, even as we celebrate Pesach, celebrating the one who did come and who will come again? If so, then Lot was observant, as was Abraham and Sarah. He was acknowledging of then the need for unleavened bread at this time. But it didn't change his life. Matter of fact, later on, it seems to say that in verse 15, when the morning dawned, the messengers urged Lot to hurry. And then it says in 16, while he loitered, he's fooling around. The word loitered here, maha, means to delay, deny, refuse, to hesitate, to be reluctant, to tarry. And it's rooted in the word mach, which means to ask the question, what? Why? Well, where are we going? And how long are we going to be there? It's the delay tactics. He fails to recognize the seriousness of the moment it is on him. Fire is about to fall on his house. And he's fooling around, looking around, and not being, any of us is going on vacation. You're packing for Sukkot. You're getting ready to go somewhere for a trip. There's part of the family that's going to be packed a day or two ahead of time, if not further ahead. And then there are others, like myself sometimes, who will wait till the very last minute and grab the suitcase and just start throwing a few things in it and say, maybe I need to iron a shirt, or maybe I need to add this. When it comes to the seasons of the Most High, we cannot afford to be casual or lighthearted or flippant, non-concerned. There has to be a sense of focus. Now, it has been preached that we have been living in the last days for decades, and preached so much that when you say last days, most of the younger generations roll their eyes and say, here we go again. They're going to try to scare us to death with another blood moon season or another episode of what's going on in the land of Israel and the anti-Messiah and the mark of the beast. Yawn. And I get it. And the younger generations are right. And if we're not in the last days, then we need to stop pounding that into people's heads. But eventually, we're going to come to the time and the season of the last days. And for all I know, we may have already entered into some level and degree. Certainly, world events seem to be escalating to some level. It's not as far-fetched as it used to be, the events of last days. So what do? Take seriously His Word. It means that in our prayer life, it needs to be beyond a mere casual approach of, well, let me do this prayer thing today. No, we need to talk to Him. We need to listen to Him. And the study of the Word needs to be more than just looking for another, ooh, did you see that intriguing connection? Or I never thought about it that way. Those are wonderful, and we dig for that. But allowing the Word to come up and to challenge us, to change us, to refocus us, to move us forward. And the things that we're loitering about, maybe we need to ask ourselves, is it time to hurry? Is it time to be decisive? Now is the time to cut out the junk and focus on what's important. Because who knows when the rain's going to fall. And we don't want to have to be dragged out of what Yah is getting ready to judge. I hope to see you again tomorrow. Until then, shalom.